update in relation to the new notes, and of course a lot of speculation from Kenyans on what will happen if you do not submit your 1,000 notes. Well, it will not be accepted in any of the outlets as legal tender. Well, like I mentioned to you, I want to take you down to Meru County, where farmers are crying foul over the 1 billion shillings they are yet to receive from the National Treasury. Well, the money in question was a promise made by President Uhuru Kenyatta in the 2016-2017 budget when it went through Treasury, but has not yet reached farmers and traders despite the formulation of a steering task force committee. Well, we are now joined by our reporter, George Marenga, to shed more light into this unfolding story. And George, great to see you. Let's just begin by asking you, what does this mean for the Meru farmers now that this particular money has not been released as the reports we are getting so far?
Thank you, Abby. Good afternoon, and it's nice to talk to you and our viewers. And now it is a confused state for the farmers because they were supposed to receive these 1 billion Kenya shillings in the 2016-2017 financial year, but that did not happen. It was moved to the 2018-2019, 2016-2017, then moved to 2017-2018 financial year, and it is appearing to pull over or spill over to the 2018-2019 financial year. Now, Abby, the genesis of this 1 billion Kenya shillings is followed the closure or the ban of cat or Miraa in Netherlands, and consequently the entire of Europe in the 2012-2013 financial year. And farmers lost about 1.6 billion Kenya shillings that they gain from the European market. Now, this is because they transport up to 20 to 30 tons of cat or Miraa weekly. Now, all that resulted in the loss of the European market, and that is when President Uhuru Kenyatta heard the cries of the farmers and promised to issue 1 billion Kenya shillings so as to revive this sector. Remember, losing 1.6 billion shillings in revenue, and then they would need to find other sources of income, and that's why the 1 billion promised by President Uhuru Kenyatta was supposed to help them revive other sectors, not only to focus on Miraa, but actually the term that was used is to diversify. Now, of course, the money cannot just be issued to basic individuals. A task force committee was formed to see or to oversee how this money will be distributed. They sat in Naivasha later on in 2017, but they came up with resolutions and proposals on how to use that money that the farmers do not agree with. Part of it include 200 million Kenya shillings for market recovery. There is 200 million Kenya shillings for boreholes. And actually, the reason they protest on these 200 million Kenya shillings for boreholes is that some of these functions, such as boreholes and sheds, are supposed to be functions of the county government. For example, in Meru County, Abi, the governor, that is Kiraitu Murungi, has dedicated 100 million shillings to drilling of boreholes every financial year. And so the farmers are wondering, if the county government is drilling 100 boreholes at 100 million shillings, then what is the 200 million shillings for these boreholes that they say will come out of the 1 billion shillings? What will be its purpose? And some of the things also include capacity building for up to 50 million shillings, updating the farmers register to up to 10 million shillings. But they agree with actually working with CALRO, that is the Agricultural Research Organization, to sort the pests dilemma and conduct a literature review of research works on Miraa. And also the other things they also disagree with are the gabions, because how do you identify which farm requires gabions? So these are some of the issues that still surround the 1 billion shillings and why it hasn't reached the farmers, because there is not yet that agreement. We have tried to reach the task force steering committee, but they informed us that they are actually in Djibouti for some capacity building, and these are some of the issues that the farmers we spoke to, especially the spokesperson of Memifatra, that is the Meru Miraa Farmers and Traders Association, James Mithika, who told us that some of the funds, or rather they should ensure that they allocate more money to the commodity fund. This commodity fund is what is supposed to allow farmers to access this money with Miraa as collateral. such that if a person or if a Miraa farmer can access this money using Miraa as collateral, then they will be able to get loans from SACCOs and probably diversify into other areas, since the European market is already a no-go for them. And that's and you know, these losing 1.6 billion in revenues, or rather in monies that they were supposed to accrue should the European market have remained. So these are some of the issues that still surround the 1 billion shillings, and due to the lack of agreement between the task force and also the Miraa farmers, that is, remember, Meru is mostly the production county for Miraa, and then Embu, which was also supposed to benefit from the 1 billion shillings, is largely known for Mogoka. Remember, Miraa are the twigs and Mogoka are the leaves from the cat plant. So these are some of the issues, Abi, that still surround the 1 billion shillings, and as to why it hasn't reached the farmers yet. And they say that actually they want the 502 million shillings so far allocated to the commodity fund be increased, such that the 50 million for capacity fund be reduced, and in such that if the capacity or if the commodity fund is increased, then they should be able to allocate other monies, or rather, if the commodity fund is increased, then they should be able to access this credit, and they wouldn't mind if the or if the steering committee goes for benchmarking. They say that they want money in farmers' pockets first, then the others can come later. Abi, that is the controversy that surrounds the 1 billion Kenya shillings.
All right. Many thanks, George Maringa, for that very insightful